If everyone is ready, it looks like we're starting about 6 minutes past 6 p.m. So we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, if everyone will stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from the previous meeting?
Yes, and I have comments.
Okay. First, entertain a motion. Got a motion to approve?
No, not to approve. I just have, I have
Well, we
things
need a
to.
motion to bring it to discussion.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
Do I have a second? Okay, I'll second. All right, discussion. Any changes, corrections, or additions need to be made?
Yes, under new business, when it talks about me being secretary, the mayor did promise me a rough draft, and Gail was nice enough to do everything this month. I didn't have to do anything, but that's not in the minutes, that I was promised a rough draft. But that could be neither here nor there. I've been talking to Dell, and he is going to look into the voice to text, the software that's available now that, you know, you can just take this information and turn it into text, which would help Gayla in her position.
Okay. Any other corrections or changes?
Yes. You love me. Okay, this document that was given to us when we sat down last time, my very first meeting, it was the driveway. And so we were given the original draft first, and then we were given the amended version second, right when we sat down. When did we have a chance to look at this? Because I've had a chance to look at this, and the very first page of the amended version says a new section in chapter 3. Why would we create a new chapter in a new section of chapter 3 when it is already in chapter 3? It is in 8-305. Stuff is already covered in it. So if we were to take this and make it a new section, we would discuss it twice in the same section. Also, the land use and transportation plan talks about all topsoil shall be aside during any development of a site and later used on the same site. I don't read that anywhere in here. Also, in the town municipal code, we have got chapter 2 all about this. So we've got this in 3 different places, and we want to add another section in chapter 3. I don't think this is even up for discussion.
I don't believe either. Is this having to pertain to the minutes being approved and changes or corrections?
Yes,
or
because
additions?
when we come to here,
What would you like to change or correct or add to the
my
minutes?
question is on number 2, where it says 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 have been deleted. Why? And section 16-203 of the municipal code says that the permit is $20. Here is a whole scale. We've got information everywhere that say different things. So how does this work? I don't want to approve minutes as they are because they're not right. So what do we do?
So do you have language that you would like to have
I do
changed?
not.
Okay, so we don't have anything to act on. You have changes, but there's nothing for us to refer to.
I mean, I can sit here and talk to you for an hour about this. I don't know that you want that because we've got the
No.
workshop coming up.
No, I do not want that. And so maybe we can approve the minutes at the next meeting if you'll bring us a marked up copy of your recommended changes and corrections to the minutes.
No, that's not my job.
As a commissioner, if you'd like to change the minutes, it's your job to recommend the changes and suggestions. I don't know what those are,
So I've got to, as a commissioner, correct minutes myself.
if you'd like those changes made, yes.
Okay, so I can vote nay other than that, right? When we
Yes.
say, Okay, so I'm voting no, okay,
Yea, nay, or abstain.
okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, just on the minutes, they need to be accurate with respect particularly to any decisions that we took. So it's not an exhaustive transcript of what happened at the meeting. It's not necessarily, if there's something that we discussed, it goes in the minutes, but if there's sort of more that we need to discuss on it, like, reconciling or having conforming changes or something, and we didn't discuss it, but we still need to, that would go on another agenda.
Because
But it
I
just
don't
needs to-
remember discussing this at all. It was put on the table when I sat down, so,
Okay, well, I sort of remember that we went through it, and there were several sections. We questioned the building inspector about it, because he's been helping.
right, oh, yes, we talked
There
about.
were
the-
some that were thought to be a little bit too prescriptive or too granular, and he offered to remove those. So when I read the minutes, I thought, well, yes, this is what we discussed and what was agreed to be removed, so.
Also, it was kind of my thought that this was being done because of curb cuts and stuff, that was being done. Well, we've got that covered as well. So why did we do this? Why did we do this? It seems like it's all covered in one of three places.
Okay. Back to what the mayor said, yes, the minutes are a record of official actions that take place during the course of the meeting. And that's all that really needs to be recorded. As far as discussion, it can be listed as discussion was had on a certain topic, action was taken, this is the result of the action. I believe the mayor is correct that every detailed discussion does not need to be put into the minutes. That's why we also have recorded
Right?
minutes as well. So, moving forward, if we can, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes.
It might be true that we need to revisit the discussion of driveway grading permit ordinance at some future point in time. The minutes are okay to be approved because I believe, on my read, it is a good representation of what we discussed.
So
But
was
if we
this handled before I got
have
here?
redundant information in various places where they shouldn't be, we should go back and discuss each one of those and make a recommendation to the board that that redundancy, if it's unnecessary, be eliminated.
Okay, so that I will get a rough draft, which is neither here nor there because there's more conversation about that. But we can say, yeah, this is what we discussed, but we're not approving this verbiage. We're just saying that this is what we discussed.
But you absolutely nailed the problem when you said, I just got it, I didn't see it before the meeting.
Yeah.
That's the reason that these kind of things, mistakes will happen, is that we don't have a chance ahead of time
Well,
to make a comment on these items.
So
we'd seen it before. So the driveway ordinance had actually been at the planning commission before, and then it was advanced to the city council, and then the city council asked the planning commission to take a look at it. So it was your first meeting, but
Right.
we had seen it before as a planning commission.
Because there's no grade, there's a lot given up to the inspector that's not coming back to the city, there's a lot of problems.
The fact that we've seen it before does not get around the point that we may still have a redundancy and may need to revisit it and
You did.
eliminate.
Mike, can we just add a note up here where it says discussion of driveway grading permit ordinance? Can we just add a note that says discussion only, no approval?
If that's the wish, yes. I mean,
That
that's what we're
would
here.
clarify that we didn't approve something.
If those
Joanne would be
changes,
more comfortable.
Right.
if those changes would like to be made, and yes, we can recommend those and vote on
Okay.
them. So, do we have exactly what we want the minutes to be changed to here? Or-
Number one, it's to be given a rough draft, but like I was saying, I've worked with Dell, and we're looking to see if we can get the text, talk to text.
So,
But with the mayor promising me a rough draft, that's not in here. And that was it.
Okay,
Okay, so I'll take a shot at adding that line. And so the mayor indicated that city staff will provide to the secretary a rough draft of the meeting minutes following each meeting of the planning commission.
Okay. And then, Pat, what was your
Okay,
suggestion for
here's-
changing?
I'm not a great wordsmith, but here's what I've got. You know, you've got B, discussion of driveway/grading permit ordinance. Right after that, I ought to say discuss but not approve. Simple as that.
So under item B, discussion of driveway grading permit ordinance, it should read, there was discussion about the proposed driveway grading ordinance, and then
But not approved, just to
No
make it
action.
absolutely clear.
no action taken. And then we'll strike the remainder of that sentence, which was sent back to the Board of Commissioners for further review of planning.
To my recollection, it was approved 2 meetings prior. And then I even asked that night, do we need a vote? And you guys said, no, it's good to go before the planning, as is. So, I mean, you can scrap the whole thing for all I care. It's just more work for me to inspect them, but I thought we were good moving forward. It's actually in the hands of Will now to be reviewed, to tie all those things together.
And the actual ordinance is going to be crafted in the official language, which will go before the city council for
Right.
them to take
Right.
2 actions on for it to enact.
All that stuff's on Will's desk now to be linked, so all three are under the same umbrella.
Yeah, actually, we did have the discussion, the following amendments to the original ordinance were added. That's what we added with the sliding scale and everything. That was during the discussion of the previous meeting. So all this was discussed, and we did decide to go ahead and add that into the recommendation to the city council. So in a way, there was, quote, no, I don't guess there was an official action as far as a vote on the recommendation for additional information to be added, to be given to the city council in that regard. And I think it's probably good to have a record of the changes that we recommended, 4 bullet points there with the grading fee scale.
So Mike, you don't believe it would come back to the planning commission to be reviewed before it goes to the city commission?
It doesn't need to come to the planning commission. The planning commission cannot make
So-
regulations. It's totally
But you
up to
feel the
city
planning
council.
commission has completed all its work on that?
Yes, at the last meeting, I think with this recommendation that we sent, that we completed our work. If there's more work to be done, I mean,
When it's in 3 different places and it says 3 different things.
okay, this is the minutes here, guys. We're just trying to pass some minutes from the previous meeting. We're not trying to get into like rediscussing this driveway permit.
Okay, but with me saying yes, am I saying that I'm saying it's okay, everything in here is okay? Is that what I'm saying? Because it's not.
Sam, this is just what was passed
Can I
last
just
meeting.
say something regarding the rough draft? This was, the rough draft sent to everyone on February 7th, to the entire planning commission. I heard no feedback from anybody on any changes that needed to be made.
Are you talking
So
about
why
the
would
amended
we wait
version?
until- This is the version I sent out to everybody on February 7th.
And see, that's a problem with me not having technology. I've said
I mean,
that
I
last
can't
time.
help that.
I know that.
Let's go ahead and move ahead. You can vote no or abstain. And if there are recommendations from any of the council members to make further recommendations moving forward, I just don't think this is the point and time to get into that discussion. So we're just going to act on the minutes right now as written with the one change of, there was a request of a rough draft. But let's go ahead and strike the no action because we did have this discussion, we did have these recommendations that we did send to the city council at the end of that meeting.
Minutes may be sketchy in some cases. They may be a complete transcript of exactly what was said or something in between. This section of our minutes tonight on driveway permits is a little bit expanded more than what we're used to seeing. I haven't read it enough to be sure that that's exactly a representation, but I've read it enough to say yes myself on these minutes tonight. We can get back to the ordinance at some future point in time if we want to, and make another recommendation based on where this material might appear or might not appear, but the minutes is not really the appropriate place to do that.
And this is not changing any regulation or enacting city council is still gonna have to draft the official document, and it's their action that enacts it.
So it's their responsibility to make sure everything matches throughout all three documents. It's their responsibility, right? Is that what you're saying? It's not ours. If it's
I'm
not
saying-
ours, if it's not ours, I'm good. But if it's theirs, if it's theirs.
Finally,
Yeah, this, my understanding, this is coming before the city council. And anytime you have references in multiple locations, you may need to make conforming changes. So, for example, in the land use and transportation plan, I think there is reference to this with respect to policies. But what the land use and transportation plan does is it guides what we should think about when we're developing our ordinances and municipal code. In this case, we have something in the municipal code already. And so the reason this came before us, I think, is because we didn't have a permit to be able to authorize this. And so we asked the building inspector to go out and draft a permit and draft something that would be representative to go in the zoning ordinance. And so anytime you have something new that you adopt, you have to look to see what conforming changes you might need. So it sounds like in this case, and I think Commissioner Jenkins has highlighted this as we've discussed in the city council, there is a section of the municipal code that covers the same thing.
Right.
And so,
Mhm.
that's right. And so the city council, as part of looking at this, would also need to look to see what conforming changes are needed in the municipal code so that they match, or if they're redundant, we can recommend to take it out of one place and put it in another. And so the planning commission is sort of the technical expertise, and I think that's what we've been,
So tell me, why does it come through here? Why do we look at it?
well, because the planning commission is the technical expertise for that. And these are things that are typically in the zoning ordinance.
But this is technical, like adding this, like it says, to chapter 3 is gonna make a bigger mess. So,
Well, I think
this
that's.
is what was said, yes, but it's not something that should happen.
Well,
this may appear in as many cases as it needs to based on the discretion of the city council. Where we get into a problem is that it appears in various places.
And says
we
different
make some
things.
changes in one place and not another that needed the inconsistency. That would be a big problem.
This is throughout,
Oh.
throughout.
okay.
All right.
But this is just, we're just working on approving the minutes. All we have to do is this what was discussed at the meeting? Is it an accurate reflection of what was discussed? Does it capture?
It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong, it's just, it was discussed. Okay.
It was discussed.
Got it. It
If
was
it's still
discussed.
not adequately solved, then we still have work to do. And the work will be done either at the city council level, which is what I understand the chairman to say, is going back to the city council. So we'll take a look at it and see if it is appropriate, if it has conforming changes. One of our jobs as a city council is to make sure that our stuff is not only up to date, but that it's not ambiguous or redundant. And so we will need to, take a look at it to make sure. And I think, that's what we'll do when it gets back to city council.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes with the change of the rough draft from the mayor. Any further discussion, questions? All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Those opposed? Abstain?
I'm gonna abstain.
Okay, motion passed with one abstention. Moving on, report from the Board of Commissioners. Mayor?
Yeah, thanks very much, Mr. Chairman. We had our last Board of Commissioners meeting on January the 21st. A few items to highlight for the Planning Commission. The Building and Codes report, let's see, we talked about Building Inspector Blair reported nothing new to report, but that he hoped to have the driveway and grading ordinance finalized for next month, so that indicates what we were just discussing. And Commissioner Jenkins highlighted the fact that there was a section in the municipal code that had regulations for excavating, and wondered how these would be compatible. And then the codes officer reported that he had dealt with a couple of codes violations. Things are going smoothly. So we did discuss this, and so I think, this is sort of indicates at our last meeting that the city council is expecting to have this back, and that we'll endeavor to make sure that it's resolved with the municipal code as well. Commissioner Jenkins highlighted. Maintenance report, it was reported that all is going well, and we did have some reporting. I think that TDOT had just initiated a curb project in Townsend to get our sidewalks in compliance with the ADA, and so we were getting a lot of questions from our citizens, what's happening up there at the upper end. And so thanks to the city manager, we were able to gather some additional information, put that on our website. So as you can tell, what's happening on the sidewalk side of the street is they're installing some buffer plates as you hit those slopes with the different road cuts and things. And so my understanding is that there'll be a little resurfacing project that will go on after that happens. So there'll be rumble strips. They're looking at the slope to make sure that the slope is compliant. You know, we have a lot of folks that uses scooters and things like that, and so that slope is real important. If you're visually impaired, the little bumps are really important. So I'm grateful for TDOT for enhancing the ADA compliance of our sidewalks. Other things to mention, we did get an update on the community plan. So Mr. Hogue, I think he's not going to be here tonight, but he gave a summary of the January meeting and stated that we're moving on to a different phase where we're working on a lot of data, and this is the phase where ETDD is taking a lead, and that we'll be going through some of that data at our February meeting. So that's a new phase of the Community Plan Advisory Committee. And then also we passed on second reading our annual budget. So that's a report from the Board of Commissioners. I'm going to pause there and see if there's any questions from planning commissioners. And then I do have another item to address. Any questions? I have been getting some questions from citizens about some state legislation that's been introduced. And I want to share with you what I know about this. So last Wednesday, I guess it was Wednesday before last, on February 5th, companion bills were introduced into the House and Senate by Tom Stinnett and Tom Hatcher, our legislators, respectively. This week, the bills were assigned to committee. The House bill was assigned to the Cities and Counties Subcommittee, and the Senate bill was assigned to Energy, Ag, and Natural Resources. Our Representative Jerome Moon chairs the House Cities and Counties Subcommittee, where this bill has been assigned. The bills have identical language, and I'll read it out to you because it's pretty short. So this is a bill to amend the Tennessee Code annotated Title 6, Chapter 51, Title 7, Chapter 69, relative to tourism development authorities. Be it enacted by the General Assembly of the State of Tennessee, Section 1, Tennessee Code annotated Title 769, is amended by adding as a new section. A tourism development authority formed pursuant to this chapter, owning a tract of real property of which all or any portion thereof is contained within the incorporated territory of a municipality, may petition the municipality to de-annex such property if the de-annexation of the property does not create an area of unincorporated territory that is completely surrounded by municipal boundaries. The petition must include a map of the plat seeking de-annexation. Upon receiving the petition for de-annexation, the municipality shall determine the debt owed pursuant to Chapter 651-204A, if any, within 30 days. The de-annexation of the property becomes operative 60 days after receipt of the petition by the municipality. Except for responsibility for debt newly contracted after the territory was annexed and prior to the surrender of jurisdiction, all municipal jurisdiction ceases, the territory excluded from the municipality's corporate limits, on the operative date of the contraction accomplished through the petition described in this section. This act takes effect upon becoming a law of public welfare requiring it. The language, my reading, is identical among the two bills. So I've received some questions from citizens about this, so I'll try to provide some information here. Could this legislation potentially impact the city of Townsend? Well, based on our understanding, yes. The Smoky Mountains Tourism Development Authority holds property upon which the Townsend Visitor Center is located. This property sits partially within the city limits. Was the city of Townsend consulted by any of our state legislators or county officials during the development or prior to the introduction of this legislation? Fortunately, no. What is the city's understanding of why this legislation has been introduced? Well, we've thought about it. Perhaps it's considered a restrictive posture by the Townsend City Council toward events anticipated to be held at the event center. Will the legislation have any immediate consequences? So based on our understanding so far, the legislation would require a tourism development authority to initiate a request for de-annexation. What are some of the potential consequences of the de-annexation? Well, based on our understanding so far, we're still studying this, it's only been out a week or so, de-annexation could prohibit the city from collecting sales tax on items sold on the Tourism Development Authority's property, could prohibit us from enforcing building and zoning codes, and could prohibit us from requiring special event permits, mobile food vendor permits, and the like. What is the city doing about the proposed legislation? Well, given its recent introduction, of course, we're studying and analyzing, studying the text and analyzing the potential impact to Townsend. We're also reaching out to state legislators and county officials, and we're providing information to our citizens in our community. So that's what we know. Those are some of the questions that I'm being asked. Commissioner Jenkins has been engaged on this as well, so I'll turn it over to him to see if he's got...
I became aware of this. I wrote an email to all three individuals involved, both representatives and senator, and told them what I thought about this issue and the impact it could have on Townsend. And I got an interesting reply, and I'd like to read the reply so it's on the record. This is from Senator Stinnett. I have introduced this bill in order to preserve a means for a blunt partnership to navigate what it seems as an unexpected change in the approach of the City of Townsend to the operation of its newly constructed event center. My understanding is, from the onset, the blunt partnership has made it clear and intentional about the use of the property within Townsend city limits. The primary objective from the start was to host events and festivals that attract 12,000 to 15,000 attendees, strengthen tourism, and driving economic benefits across the county. To fully realize the potential of this property, a streamlined and consistent permitting process is essential for event organizers. The Blunt Partnership tells me that they work closely with the City of Townsend throughout the planning and construction phases, securing approvals and support along the way. In April 2024, the property received its certificate of occupancy, affirming to the compliance of all necessary regulations. However, the Blunt Partnership now faces a possible impasse due to the changed approach from the City of Townsend. The partnership made a significant financial investment in this property in order to avoid a substantial financial loss, it is necessary to operate the property as originally agreed upon. However, it seems that obstacles have been raised to their doing so. Rather than resorting to legal battles, an option that would impose unnecessary costs on all parties, the partnership seeks a regulatory framework that ensures fairness while maintaining an alternative avenue should obstacles arise. Resolution outside the courtroom benefits everyone involved, and this legislation offers a practical solution for such scenarios. Is this understanding is accurate? I welcome hearing your position. Signed, Tom Stennett. And of course, he heard from me after that.
Okay, I think what I would say is we're continuing to study this. We'll probably have more to say about this. We'll have our city council meeting coming up. I think it's important to recognize, and I've said this before in the city Community Plan Advisory Committee meeting, the event center is part of our community. And being able to find a way to work to make sure that it supports, our residents as well as our visitors is going to be really important. I don't think, we'll have to talk about it as city council. I don't think de-annexation is the right approach. We do have other approaches, and one of the things that we've talked about in our Community Plan Advisory Committee is as we update our community plan, we will have some opportunities to address different features of our community through zoning. And zoning allows us to be able to allocate certain types of permitted uses in certain spaces. And so there are other approaches that I think would probably be preferable to de-annexation. But we'll continue to study this and I think, continue to try to be good partners and good neighbors. But we have to take this seriously. And I know our community is taking this seriously. And so we wanted to share this information with the Planning Commission because you all have a very significant role in all this. So that's what we know on it so far. We may have more to say later as we study it a little further. But, Commissioner Jenkins, as part of our Board of Commissioners report, and the chairman's given us great latitude here, did you want to report out on a recent meeting of the County Commission?
Okay, what night was it? Tuesday night? Last Tuesday night I attended the County Commissioners Workshop where they decide what's going to be on their agenda next Thursday. And the very last item on their agenda was to discuss the need for the swinging bridge to be repaired. And one county was discussing how much of the responsibility is theirs. And after some discussion, it was decided that they would move that item forward to next Thursday's meeting to discuss it in front of the whole Planning Commission. And I strongly suggest the seats there be filled with bodies to show them support for fixing that bridge.
That's very encouraging, and we're grateful for the support of our county commissioners. Okay, Mr. Chairman, that's it from the Board of Commissioners.
All right, any questions for the mayor on the report? All right, thank you, Mayor, appreciate that.
Will we be talking about legislation at the workshop?
Yes, we will be having a workshop following this, and we'll be talking about existing ordinances that need to be updated as well as new regulations. I don't know that we'll have much more to say about the state legislation, but I would entertain a few questions on it then at the workshop if we need to discuss further.
All right, moving on. Do we have anybody signed for public input?
There's a couple of question marks.
there
Still a
any-
question mark.
Mr. Aker?
Mr. Aker,
Mr. Aker?
I'm sorry?
did you?
You got a question mark?
I just wanted to comment on the swinging bridge thing. We had issued that as a directive for it to be done because of a misunderstanding that happened in 2019. The commission and the public was told in 2019 that Townsend and the Dark Island folks were entering into an agreement with Blount County that Blount County would be taking care of it. And the announcement was made to the public that that's what was taking place, and evidently that didn't happen. So we're right back in the same no man's land as to who owns the bridge now and who can shut it. Common sense would say that with it being maintained as a public bridge for 100 years, it's a public bridge. But lawyers like to do that lawyer thing and dot those i's and cross those t's. So we had to amend the resolution to be a extremely supportive thing instead of an order that we do it. But the effort, as you know, you've been in conversations with Mr. Mayor, you know the effort's underway to make it happen. And there can't be anything that stops it. I mean, there just really can't. But stranger things have happened. I wanted to touch base on that. It was great to see Commissioner Jenkins there Tuesday. That was beneficial. Helps everybody there see that there's support coming from y'all's direction, and we all know that we need to make that happen. There's a whole bunch of people that use that and enjoy that, and it's a big deal for the whole county. So I don't foresee it getting derailed, but stranger things have happened. You know, you get to discussing things and new stuff comes up, can derail it, but it was unanimous the other night, so that's a pretty good sign.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Hager. Anyone else on public? Moving on, there is no new business.
I just have something to say on new business. That's the only place I knew to say it. The secretary position that was sort of forced on me last meeting. This document was referred to, that this is what the secretary does. This document was written 41 years ago. If we're going to go by this document, we can no longer email. We didn't have email 41 years ago. So we're going to have to deliver everything to each commissioner or mail it. The chairman is to sign the instruments, not the secretary. There's a journal of proceedings that's been kept for the past 41 years. So what I'm getting at is this is a very, very outdated document that I should not be held to. I will be happy to go forward as the secretary in the same capacity that my male predecessor was held to. I don't know why you think that this can be changed with me, because all the secretaries in the past, including when I was secretary in the past, I sign documents, I review documents, but I don't do everything. I do, when reading this, I believe it was written as a secretarial position, like Gayla is your secretary for the planning committee, for the commissioners. But for this, because here it even says, should the office of chairman or vice chairman become vacant? Nothing about secretary. Secretary can only be elected at an annual meeting along with the vice chair and the chair.
All right, I understand. I don't know what that document is.
That's what you referred to last time, so I went to find it. You said it
I
says
referred
right
that
here.
document
Yes, you
to you.
did. You said it
Okay,
says
I
it
didn't
right
know
here
that.
in the book.
I don't know exactly what that document is, but I know that there is a position that's defined for the secretary.
Again, it's in
if
three
that-
places.
Okay, we can deal with this outside of an open public meeting because it's an administrative item.
But I wanted to be on record that I will perform the secretarial duties as they have been performed in the past, which is signing documents and reviewing documents. No minutes, no recording, none of that. That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you for saying that.
you're welcome.
Okay, and any other things under new business that? Okay. Moving on to old business, we didn't have no items under old business. Mayor?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'll just weigh in a little bit. I think the document that Commissioner Funk is referring to are the bylaws for the planning commission. And my guess is we need to update the bylaws for the planning commission. 41 years, seems like there's probably some updates needed.
Emails one.
So, one of the things that I've indicated is one of my priorities and that the city council has affirmed as one of their priorities is that we do plan to modernize, I would say, the planning commission. So as part of that, we will undertake, I would say also to suggest that the bylaws be updated. So I think I'm happy for that to be reflected in the minutes that, we will undertake an update of the bylaws.
And I'll continue in the secretary position as it has been fulfilled in the past. We're not changing with me.
We'll make sure you get a good draft and you've got excellent documentation. One of the things that we need to do is make sure that we have good records of our decisions. And so the minutes are important. Our site plans are incredibly important. When we make contingencies on a site plan, it's the secretary's responsibility to make sure all those contingencies have been fulfilled before the site plan gets signed off. So we'll take note and get the bylaws updated as part of that modernization of the planning commission.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, other business. Kim, do we have any local administrative items or status reports to update?
I know the only thing is we put the zoning ordinance online for everybody to make comments on. Oh, sorry. We've posted the zoning ordinance after the initial scrubbing by my colleagues and myself, and it's online for everybody else with the BZA, Planning Commission, Board of Commissioners, and CPAC to make comments.
It's on the Townsend website, the access point
Oh,
for
no. No, this was emailed as a link to a
Okay.
document that is online,
Yeah.
not the website, sorry.
Okay.
It's on a OneDrive link that anybody can go in, highlight what parts of the document you want to comment on, and then make a comment, and then dispatch it to the document. The idea is that we want all the comments in one composite place, so that when we have discussions about the document, we don't have disparate sources of where those comments are coming from.
And that link was emailed to the council and commissioners?
Yeah, it was to the BZA, Planning Commission, Commissioners, and CPAC members.
Very good.
I looked at it today and I noticed that, your group and there's names on there, but if we were to use it, it was just guest user. So we weren't identified. And I don't know if that matters. I'm just saying that's what it was.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because the comments are from the community.
Right.
So all those comments will be discussed in subsequent workshops, so that at the end of it all, you will know how you want to redraft the documents, change it, edit it, whatever.
So we're to look through the whole document, not just like what we're going to be talking about tonight?
Tonight's meeting, I do not know the conduct of tonight's meeting because actually this workshop is coming ahead of schedule. There was supposed to be first a data workshop. The data workshop was to see what the profile of Townsend is and then look at its instruments. Its instruments include the board, the zoning ordinance, the subdivision regulations, and the land use map. Out of that, there will be discussion to figure out how any of this should be updated, edited, or what have you. One thing that I mentioned a while ago was that, to drive home your point, is I want to make sure that there's consistency between all the documents.
Yes.
And one of the ways in which we want to achieve that is to have a toolbox that will be used so that there is not too much divergent interpretations of what is in each specific document, but that any land use development regulation, as well as any development proposal, meet certain tests, and how those tests meet up with the vision statement that Townsend has been working on. So the idea being that whatever development comes in, rather than have discussions or arguments about what constitutes what, the basic thing is that does it meet up with what we plan for Townsend?
And am I correct in thinking July the 1st, there's state legislature coming through, and if it is in the book, we must do it? Am I thinking correctly?
I have to ask my colleagues about that. I'm not aware of this particular legislation, but I would say that good planning practice requires that whatever you have in your documents is what you should abide by.
Right,
So-
but if that's the way I understand it, and if that is correct, that should be our deadline, July 1, to have all that done. And that's not a long time.
Yeah, well, the entire process for CPAC should be done by September, if not earlier.
Right, but if we're responsible by July 1, CPAC, that doesn't matter. Tommy, the legislature that I'm thinking of, July 1, everything in the book?
That's my understanding.
Yeah,
If you could please send me some information about this legislation specifically, I'll ask my colleagues and I'll get back to you. But I'm not aware of any legislation that requires that everything be done by July 1st.
I have one problem. I don't have any Word Microsoft product in my possession. Everything I have is Apple. So I don't have a good way to access this program you're talking about.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, you can download the PDF, and all PDFs allow you to make comments. Now, once we get your comments, even in a hard copy version, then we can incorporate them into the soft version. But we need to get written comments from anybody who provides input. We cannot take verbal and have the task of trying to transcribe it. We would like to get written comments from everybody so that we can put them in this one document as the person intended to have it written in the document. So you can download the document from the website, and then there's a way, even on Apple products, because I've done that several times, where you take the PDF version, there's a way to actually insert your comments in it.
Okay, I'll let you explain that to me outside.
Exactly. And then you can submit to us that hard copy. So we can maybe get an intern to incorporate it into the soft version.
Do you have something, Mayor? I was gonna go to adjournment.
Okay, I've got one thing, and this is just for information only. I had a citizen share this with me, so I'm sharing it with you all because I think it's really well done, and I think it's a compliment to the windshields that you all did. So we had a citizen, Mr. Jeff Riddle, who went out and did a windshield survey, maybe supported by another citizen. But what he's trying to identify here are houses, homes, in the B1 district. He looks like here he's got about 45 of them. But he's got little dots on here, so it's important when you're looking at this map, and we can give you a better copy of it, but it's got little red dots on there. And so it just seemed like it was complementary to the windshield survey, and so I think we should put this in our information archives. He spent some time doing that, and I'm real grateful for all of our citizens that get involved. And so I think he might have been inspired, by the work of the windshield group. But one of the things that we have in Townsend is we have a lot of volunteers. We have a tremendous amount of goodwill. Our citizenry is very engaged, and they will produce things like this that can help us. So it's just for information only, and we want to keep it in our repositories. I just thought it was well done and wanted to share it with them.
What was his name again?
This is Jeff Riddle.
Jeff, is he here tonight?
He's not here tonight, but.
He has company.
Oh, he is coming.
You know, he has company.
Oh, he has company tonight. He'll probably be there on Tuesday. We can thank him again. Jeff's a
Yeah.
regular attendee at our meetings, so
Well, send him a note thanking him for the information.
I think that's right. So I thanked him once, but we can thank him again. It doesn't hurt. But,
Thank you from the board.
Will do, will do. Okay, that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Do we have any other business prior to adjournment?
Return.
Do I hear a motion? Second?
Second?
Motion and second. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.